Welcome to this tutorial. In this video I will show you how to select and configure a microchannel condenser core with TKDesk, the new ThermoKey software. In here we can start with air-cooled condenser. We select our product, we go down, next we go to parameters, where the software will ask us for all the input parameters of the geometry, the refrigerant circuit and the entry conditions. For the geometry, it asks us for the fin pack length and the geometry type. If I select also the third one, another row appears on the table below, and we can compare them between the tube width, the tube pitch, the PS, the maximum load pressure, and the type of fin, which is always louvered. In this case, we can notice that the tube width changes between the first one and the second and the third. On the third one, because the tube is thicker, we have a higher tube pitch, and also at the last one is also LP stands for low pressure, as we can see from here, 15 bar, and HP stands for high pressure. This is the reason why that if I select all of them, the only refrigerant I can select is the ones that they usually operate at pressure lower than 15 bar. Also the number of tube changes, and I can select only a few because of the minimum and the maximum in order to compare the geometries, because also having a different tube pitch also changes the maximum core height or the minimum core height for the other ones. If I select let's say if I want to compare only the HP tubes that they have the same tube pitch, the core height is the same. One thing that changes is the number of steps. If I change the fin pack length, automatically changes also the number of steps. I can always change it back to the original or increase even more. The number of tubes automatically changes the core height real time, you can see on the right hand side. And then I have just to put the entry condition. I start from the refrigerant, and let's say I want to put the condensing temperature of 50 Celsius degrees, but I can only select the middle, because a refrigerant without glide, the type of condensing temperature is more or less the same. Whereas if I change to a refrigerant with glide, then I can activate this selection and I can tell the software if I'm talking about the bubble condensing temperature, the dew, or the middle. But let's say we are going to do a simple calculation with the standard refrigerant, and I can increase also the inlet temperature. I keep a subcooling of 3 Kelvin. In here on the top right, I can also do partialization analysis with the verify mode, and by putting as input the flow rate instead of the delta T or the outlet temperature. I want to configure for the worst case scenario with 35 degrees ambient. The altitude gives you also the barometric pressure, the ambient pressure, and let's say I want to change the velocity, that also changes real time the airflow rate. And of course is the same because the core height is the same between the two geometries, because they have the same tube pitch. By clicking on next, the calculation starts, and it will show me the results for the two geometries that I selected. On this page is very useful to see the results for both geometries, and usually the parameters that counts the most, the heat transfer rate, and for each fluid the pressure drops, the flow rate, inlet and outlet temperature. According to these results, I will choose the MPE 32, but of course we can choose anyone we like. We click on next, and it will show all the details of the configuration of the selection of the core, and all the general information, also the materials of the different parts of the core, the weight, and all the input and output of the air side and refrigerant side calculation, and the technical drawings as well. By clicking on here, I can zoom in, zoom out, and move this image. We can see that the quotes are shown with letters, and if I go back on the table next to it, I can follow the legend, see the description, and also the value of the measurements. Below there are also more parameters that have been calculated, or there have been like inputs of the calculation, also the number of passes that I selected, number of inlets and outlets, and we can see here also the diameters of the inlet or the outlet connections. We have to say that the inlet and outlet connections are usually proposed as standard. It's very simple straight connections, but if you have any specific request, we suggest you to contact your area manager and maybe download the PDF of this calculation, send it to this person. If you want to get to that part, we have to complete the calculation, confirm, and then we'll go to another screen with the same details of the calculation, and then on the top right we have the button download PDF. We can download it and open, save to our computer with the same information that we just calculated, and the technical drawings and so on. I hope this video was useful for you, and I thank you for your attention.